I spent a lot of time back in the old days playing any movie game I was given, more so than the actual good games for those systems. Devil May Cry, Metal Gear or Resident Evil. No, I was playing Lord of the Rings, Ghost Rider and Pirates of the Caribbean. Going back and playing those games now, I do still really enjoy them. Star Wars was obviously a big part of that, though I didn't play nearly as many Star Wars games as I do now. So I did miss out on a lot of the earlier games. I think I played the Pod Racer games, Revenge of the Sith, masterpiece, and Jedi Power Battles, and then eventually Jedi Academy. Until recently, I'd never touched the likes of Republic Commando, Rogue Squadron, Knights of the Old Republic, or the topic of today's video, Star Wars Bounty Hunter. With the new version from Aspyr coming out very soon, or already being out when this video goes out, I thought it'd be a good time to talk about this game. I am playing the version on the PSN store, so not the original, but also not the new version. The new version I believe is just a graphical upgrade and it comes with a Boba Fett skin. Star Wars Bounty Hunter is pretty much a tie-in game to Attack of the Clones. You play as Jango Fett before the events of the film, hunting down a bounty for Count Dooku to win a hidden prize. That prize being the basis for the clone army. Spoiler, I guess. Through the story you'll be going to various planets, chasing down info on said bounty, meeting familiar faces like Zam the Shapeshifter and Jabba the Hutt. The story is pretty neat as a little extra backstory that probably doesn't exist under Disney's rule, but it's fun to see Jango do more things and get his head launched off. The story also has a pretty cool bad lady that design-wise definitely wouldn't fly today. So the game is split up into multiple chapters, with multiple levels within those chapters. You'll be visiting iconic locations from Star Wars, but also some new locations, all of them being varied with a good variety of enemies and alien species. Some are populated by civilians, so it's not just rammed with enemies. Makes each area feel a lot more alive. Each chapter starts also with a nice little cutscene to set the stage for the current objective in that area. The game is played from a third-person perspective, with the ability to jump, climb, roll around and jetpack. The movement in this game is surprisingly solid. I rarely had any issues with any of the platforming sections. The only thing is Jango must have left his fuel cans at home because the jetpack has an incredibly short usage on it. It does regen while not being in use, but some of the jumps the game wants you to make, you are absolutely pushing the jetpack to its limits. The platforming sections with the jetpack are definitely the cause of 90% of my deaths in this game. Other than the jetpack, Jango comes with a variety of different gadgets and weaponry, some unlocking later in the game. For a base attack you'll be using Jango's dual blasters, which work perfectly fine throughout the game. Even at long ranges these things are great. Next we have these dart things which will instantly kill most enemies. I assume these things are meant for the silent approach, but how true this is I have no idea since enemies don't really care for stealth attempts. Later in the game Jango will obtain his rocket in his jetpack, which you can use manually, very good for clearing large groups of enemies. And then he gets a sniper rifle which is great for dealing with super long range threats. You also have grenades which I never found a use for, more often than not I would just hurt myself with them. You can also pick up a blaster minigun thing from around the levels which will have limited ammo before disappearing from your inventory. Very good for big damage or just hosing down enemies. Other pickups include a rocket pack that just explodes into multiple different rockets, very good again for just annihilating an enemy group, and a power up called Mandalorian Rage which makes you invincible, a nice thing to have when you're being completely surrounded by enemies. Jango also has the flamethrower which has its uses against melee enemies, but I didn't use it much until the end of the game. Finally Jango has a grapple hook thing that is used for tying up enemies for bounty purposes. We will get to that part in a bit. Every weapon aside from Jango's dual blasters requires ammo, which enemies will drop at random, so usage for them is kinda limited. Though with the dual blasters being as good as they are, I often forgot I had other weapons to use unless I needed them for a specific situation. You can manually aim at enemies for more precise aiming, but you can lock onto enemies and jump around and fly around and dodge their attacks, and this lock on does work fairly well. It does occasionally want to lock onto a random guy who's not in the fight, but most of the time it will go where you want it to go. You can also use the dual blasters to attack 2 enemies at a time, which is very cool looking, but when it comes to bounties, it can be very dangerous. This is also done automatically, so just be careful. You can't choose to do this. All the weapons are fun and useful to use, none of them are a complete waste of time. The sounds for all the weapons are also very nice, iconic sounds from the movies, always a joy to listen to. Sadly, no seismic charge in the game.
Need a ride, handsome?
So the general combat is very fun. As I say, the enemy variety is quite good. No one is particularly annoying to fight. I think my biggest problem with the enemies in this game is they respawn seemingly infinitely. And when you're on low health trying to catch a bounty, It's very annoying. Something that also bugged me, which also ties into the respawning enemies, is how the game handles dying. Whenever you die, you'll lose a continue. When you use said continue, you'll respawn at your last checkpoint. The world state itself stays the same, so any enemies you killed, secrets collected, bounties that have died, all stay as it was, which on one hand is okay since you can just chip away at a hard section of the game, but on the other hand, makes collecting bounties even more of a nightmare than it already is. And sometimes you'll just be respawned with enemies, so you'll be spawn killed in this single player game. Personally, I would have just preferred the, normal way. Just throw me back to my checkpoint as things were when I activated that checkpoint. Because if a bounty has died and you need to collect them, well, you just need to restart the entire level all over again, which almost certainly will happen. So bounties. These are an interesting part of the game, but also an incredibly frustrating part. You can ignore these really if you're not going for 100%, but I do like to do that on PlayStation, so I did suffer. Each mission will have a lot of secondary bounties to collect, basically collectibles in alien form. There is no distinction to who is and is not a bounty in this game. Any NPC you see could be a bounty. They're not going to have a nicer hat, or a bigger gun, or a fancier coat, it'll just be anyone. Jango is equipped with a scanner which when used on NPCs will reveal if they are a bounty or not. If they are, it'll show what they're wanted for, and if they are wanted dead or alive. For the trophies in the game, you need to get everyone alive. Sounds simple enough, but it's not. You either have to scan literally everyone you see to check if they are a bounty or not, or follow a guide, which is what I did. Because again, a bounty does not look any different to a non-bounty. To catch your bounty, you have to tie them up with Jango's grapple hook. Again, easy enough, right? But these guys can either end themselves or be ended by their friends. So you pretty much have to dive into a group of enemies, grapple the bounty and hope it works, and then pick him up like a Pokemon before scurrying away before you die or they die. The bounty system is a cool system, because obviously it's a bounty hunter game, but its implementation is quite awkward. But even through the struggles, I did have fun collecting them. There's just something that's quite cool feeling about being on a ledge using your scanner, seeing a bounty someone's wanted for something, and then going down and collecting them. There are also little secrets hidden throughout the levels. Collecting these unlocks some cool little bonuses such as comics, these card things, and outtakes.
For a burial. There's something in my nose.
Cut. Oh, what's the problem?
What's my motivation?
You're a bounty hunter. You hunt bounties. Got it?
Yeah, okay, I'm a bounty hunter. I've got it.
Great, let's try it again. This time, do a little faster, more urgent. Remember, you're a bounty hunter.
Right. Got it. Bounty hunter. But who's the bounty?
Yeah, does it matter?
Oh, well, I guess not, but,
Yeah, we'll put them in later. You know, CGI. Use your imagination.
do I have any dialogue?
Nope, you're a bounty hunter. You don't need dialogue. Ready?
Yep, okay, right, ready, yeah, I'm ready.
Action.
The game does also have a few boss fights, and they are fine. Nothing special, to be honest. Just giant bullet sponges. Overall, Bounty Hunter is a very fun game, more so if you're a fan of Star Wars and the prequel era of things. If you're going for bounties, you could be in for a rougher time than if you just weren't, but it's still a great time, not too short or not too long of a game either. And with the amount of different versions out now, you can get it pretty much anywhere. So I would say if you like Star Wars and you've somehow not played this game, I probably would recommend it. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.